Our topic for today comes from a friend in our community who says, "Hey Ray, I can't thank you enough for your work." Thank you. I am going through a very tough times right now, and your videos are one of the few things that really help me. I am battling with very bad guilt, shame, and regret for a big mistake I made. I would very much appreciate if you would do a video about this specific topic. I'd like to begin by telling you a story told by Ram Dass. It goes like this. A man had a horse that ran away. When his neighbor found out, he came over and said, "That's terrible." The man said, "You never know." The next day, the horse came back and was leading 2 wild horses. The neighbor said, "That's wonderful." And the man said, "You never know." The man's only son was training one of the horses and fell off and broke his leg. The neighbor came over and said, "That's terrible." The man said, "You never know." An army came through the village and recruited everyone. They took all the young men, but they didn't take the son because his leg was broken. Again, the neighbor said, "That's wonderful." And again, the man said, "You never know." You see, what we call mistakes, what we call problems, are just labels that we place upon our experiences. And it is only because of the story we are telling ourselves about our experiences do we can't speak today, apparently. Do we react with shame or guilt or fear? What appears to be negative on the surface could turn out to be your greatest gift. And what seems to be a great gift could eventually turn out to be a great disaster. We simply do not know. So our assumption about the truth is somewhat unjustified. Now we might say practically, well, no, my actions led to the suffering of another person. There's no way it could have been positive. There's no possible way that it was not a mistake. But this kind of mindset is only present because we are ignorant of our true nature and also the true nature of reality. As it has been said many times, the illusion of this world is that of separation, and the truth is that we are all one. And because we live life as a person, as this individual identity, we exist within this kind of story. The story of our life, the story about who we are. And we assume that this story is the true nature of reality. But the truth is, there is only one actor playing all of these different roles. And that actor is God. Now I could say that this is your true nature, but you probably wouldn't believe me. Because we have spent a whole lifetime being conditioned into believing that we are a person. So what you find is that all the struggle, all the suffering that we experience, it's all personal. It's all personal desires of not getting what we want, or believing that we've done the wrong thing, or trying to avoid pain. All problems are personal problems. All mistakes are personal mistakes. In truth, God knows exactly what everybody needs in order for their highest spiritual growth. But this often does not align with the desires of the ego, of the person. Because the person does not want to suffer, and yet suffering is an integral part of our existence. Without suffering, there would be no purpose, there would be no growth, there would be nothing. We kind of sometimes get in this tendency of wanting to get rid of all the darkness, all the evil of the world, and only have the light, only have what is good. And that is why most people would make a terrible God. Because they lack wisdom. They don't realize that the darkness and the light are equally valid to the truth. And so are both equally necessary. And so when we get into times of great suffering, we resist it because we believe it should not be. Our mind is resisting reality as it is, saying, no, I do not want this. This is wrong. This is bad. But this is just a label that we place upon our experiences. In truth, everything just is. And so the key is to change the way that we dance with life. You see, there are good and bad in all things. It's not about what you think is the truth. It's about what you choose to focus on. It's like Albert Einstein said, one of the most important questions we can answer for ourselves is this universe a friendly universe, or is it a hostile one? The more you exist in the illusion of separation, the more you will experience life as being hostile towards you. The more you take away your attachment to the personal identity, the more you realize that life is always friendly, no matter what is happening. That God is the one helping you rise up and is also the one pushing you down. That God is already aware of every possible sin that you could ever do. Every negative thought, every intention, every action. And sometimes when we have a relationship with God, we tell ourselves, God, I am such a bad person. How could you love me? Please help me. Take away from me this affliction. I used to pray like this many times. But eventually I began to be quiet. I stopped labeling things that I used to think were problems or mistakes, and I just quietly observed myself, quietly observed my experiences, with the assumption that God was always in control. And this provides a bit of safety so that you don't place the burdens of the world upon your shoulders. And what I found was that when I stopped reacting negatively to things that I just assumed were problems or mistakes, I began to see how they were shaping me into the greatest version of myself. And so I stopped resisting those negative experiences. And when you do this, you flow through life with grace. Otherwise, we get pulled and dragged along, kicking and screaming. You see, it's all about our mind's resistance to the present moment, to reality as it is, and to the degree in which we resist is how strong is the story we are telling ourselves. How strong is the attachment to the identity of the person we believe we are. And the stronger that is, the more you will get pulled into the illusion of separation, pulled into darkness, into unconsciousness, and therefore into suffering. Maybe you struggle with shame or guilt or fear, but what I speak about is the solution to all problems. Because funny enough, when you stop labeling things as problems, the problems disappear. But that's simply not possible from the perspective of the person. The whole foundation of the person is a problem. That's why you see people who are highly egotistical. They're always creating arguments, or they're always at war with something. They're easily triggered and also irrational. And so if you want to begin letting go of this attachment to the personal identity, to the ego, all that is required is your silent observation. You see, when you have feelings of shame or guilt or fear, hopefully you may have some time to be alone, but if not, all that is required is that you slow down for a moment, take a deep, big sigh of relief, and just pay attention. Focus your awareness inward towards your body and feel the feelings of shame, guilt, or fear. Really pay attention to its characteristics. Don't just go about your daily life and allow these negative feelings to linger in the background. In the light of your awareness, all things dissolve. All things dissolve back into you. Now you may not understand what this means at first, but keep on searching. Keep on seeing. When you have negative thoughts, which produce negative feelings, and also your negative feelings will produce negative thoughts, silently observe the thoughts. And if you get pulled into them, and you get caught in their drama, in the story, silently observe yourself getting caught in the drama. And the reason this works is as follows. We have a body, we have a mind, and we are consciousness. which is awareness. It's also the transcendent nature of what we are, the pure, unconditional God essence. You see, nobody realizes their true nature. Everybody believes themselves to be a mind or to be a body. And so what happens is that whenever we have negative thoughts, because we identify with the mind, our negative thoughts and ourselves become one. And because our thoughts are negative, we feel negative. Because we have thoughts of shame or guilt, we feel shame or guilt. But the moment you begin to silently observe your feelings and your thoughts, you begin to detach yourself from them and create space. And this is like your safe space, in which the influence of your negative thoughts and your negative feelings have no power over you. You take your identity away from the mind and the body and return to your true place as consciousness, as awareness. And in this, you are free from all suffering, free from all problems, free from all mistakes, because consciousness does not experience these things. Consciousness does not discern right from wrong, good or evil. And this is the wisdom of God, because God provides for the birds and the lizards and the people and the demons. As it has been said, the sun shines both on the righteous and on the unrighteous. So too does the rain fall upon the saints and the sinners. And you see what happens as you begin neutralizing the negativity of your experiences by remaining as the non-attached awareness that you are. What happens is that you begin to receive clarity. Instead of getting caught in the drama of the negative story about making a mistake or there being problems, you automatically begin seeing what the right move is to make next. You begin to see how your experiences are revealing something about you that may require your growth or your change. In this experience, you will have preferences towards certain things and away from certain other things. You see, feelings of shame, guilt, or fear, they're not wrong. They are simply emotional guidance. So once we learn how to take a step back from the situation, create a bit of space, create a bit of detachment, and really begin paying attention to how you feel, you become more and more sensitive to your actions, your thoughts, your experiences. And these negative or positive feelings are guidance telling us whether or not our thoughts or our actions are misaligned with our highest self. And this brings us perhaps to the most important point, and that is to embark on a journey of self-discovery. Because when you are on a journey of self-discovery, every experience is an opportunity for growth and expansion. You naturally stop focusing on the fear, the shame, the guilt, the negativity, and you use these negative forces and you transmute them into positive energy. Every so-called problem or mistake is an opportunity for growth. You have two choices. When you fall off your horse, you can either wallow in suffering about how much it hurt and how much you're in pain, or you can get back on your horse and keep going. And that is the difference between someone who sees problems or sees opportunities. Every problem or every mistake that you think you've made is an opportunity to learn and grow. It is, in a way, God's lesson for you. As I've said before, it's like a great and beautiful piece of art within a marble block. You are the statue, and you are the marble block. God, as the divine artist, has to chip away all the parts of yourself that do not serve you, to reveal the magical work of art within. But you will not enjoy necessarily having pieces of yourself being cut away, because we are often attached to the things that do not serve us. These times of great suffering are like the fire that purify us, and we don't like to get burned. And yet, for the forest to grow new life, the dead wood has to be burnt off. So just keep this in mind, that you are exactly where you need to be for your highest spiritual growth, that the lows are equally as important as the highs, and that God knows what God is doing. And these are perfect opportunities for us to reinforce our trust and surrender and faith in God. And do not concern yourself so much with guilt about past mistakes, because you do not know if it was a mistake. It is an assumption, and there are an infinite amount of different variables at play. We do not know how the future will unfold, so it is better to assume that God has put us in this situation for a purpose, for a reason, and this purpose is good. All of the negative things that I have experienced in my life at the time, I could have not imagined had any good in them. And yet I see now that even evil was a label that I placed upon an experience or an idea. And it is not that we won't prefer the light over the darkness. It's simply that we see the utility of all experiences. And we become familiar with the way that God works. God paints in black and white, darkness and light. The trick is, can we pull away enough from the story, from the storms, from the drama of our experiences, to begin seeing the truth, to have clarity about the way that God works, to see that the villain is as equally as important as the hero to the story. And when sometimes you feel like the weight of the world is on top of you and you're surrounded by darkness, maybe you feel lost, maybe you even feel like God has abandoned you. But perhaps it's not that you have been buried, but perhaps it is that you have been planted. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Much peace and many blessings.